Colonel Maxwell. Floor is
Thank you.
yours.
Thank you, Nick. And thank you to AEI for having us. And it's good to see so many friends out here in the audience. Let me preface my remarks. I have a different perspective than my two colleagues. I don't have their learned expertise on the domestic political situation, although I've been fortunate enough to observe democracy movement in South Korea, the Olympics in the 80s through the 90s and 2000s. And I can say, I think, with some knowledge that politics is messy. And I think my two learned colleagues have illustrated that today. I'm going to take an external view of the situation because that's what I focus on. And this is what gives me pause to the situation. But let me preface this and say that I believe whatever outcome emerges from the Korean Peninsula, that the United States and South Korea cannot be successful in denuclearization and solving the human rights problems with unification without the foundation of the strong ROK-US alliance. So I'm talking to you today from the perspective that we must sustain our ROK-US alliance. It is really, really critical. But to do that, we've got to speak frankly and critically and objectively, as Josh and Tara have mentioned. The threats we face are really a form of political warfare strategies supported by hybrid military approaches. And that's true for the Korean Peninsula and really around the world. But let me review. As we all know, the vital interest for Kim Jong-un is survival of the Kim family regime. I don't think that really needs to be emphasized. But the aim has always been unification. But what is really important are the ways and means that the North wants to achieve unification. And that's through 4 lines of effort: subversion, coercion, extortion, and ultimately, if necessary, use of force. And it's very important to keep those in mind. Of course, the key condition that needs to be successful is driving a wedge between the ROK and U.S. alliance. It's a divide and conquer strategy. Divide the alliance and conquer the ROK. Now, I normally talk about what I call the big 5 for the Korean Peninsula, and I don't need to really review those here: war, regime collapse, human rights, and crimes against humanity. And I would say that human rights is not only a moral imperative, it's a national security issue. Kim Jong-un denies human rights to remain in power. And of course, the asymmetric threats: nuclear program, missile program, provocations, slave labor around the world, all of the global illicit activities of counterfeiting, illicit drug trafficking, and the like. But one of the asymmetric threats is subversion of the Republic of Korea. And I'll talk about that in a moment here. Now, coming out of the multiple summits that we've had, there are some questions that we really need to focus on. Has the Kim family regime abandoned its strategy to use subversion, coercion, extortion, and use of force to unify the peninsula under Northern domination? Okay, not one country, 2 systems, but under Northern domination to ensure regime survival. Has it abandoned its objective to split the ROK-US alliance? And from our perspective, we need to really think through what is the acceptable, durable political arrangement we want to achieve on the Korean Peninsula that will serve, protect, and advance the interests of the United States and the ROK-US alliance. Those questions we should be constantly thinking about. They're both intelligence questions and policy questions. But it is subversion that is really the key and something that I really want to focus on. And of course, the definition of subversion is the undermining of the power and authority of an established system or institution, as in the ruthless subversion of democracy. That's really what North Korea is all about. And of course, the organizations that they have that focus on that, the United Front Department and the 225th Bureau, these are organizations, that of course, the United Front Department is responsible for North-South relations, for discussions, but the 225th Bureau or Department also is charged with developing covert political parties in the South to undermine the South Korean government. And so these organizations exist. They are documented in both South Korean and U.S. Open source intelligence documents, and they exist to subvert the South. And so we need to be very cognizant of that. And of course, the Republic of Korea needs to be very cognizant of that. Now, this subversion is really, it comes down to an ideological war on the Korean Peninsula. You really have to think this through. Many of my Korean friends and in the military alliance, we are proud to talk about shared values shared values between the United States and South Korea. And those include freedom and individual liberty, liberal democracy, free market economy, and human rights. That's something that is common to Koreans and Americans. We believe in those shared values. Now, of course, that we're in conflict with the values, and I say, quote, values of the Kim family regime, okay, which of course is Juche, Kim Il-sungism, it's the socialist workers' paradise, Songun, military first politics, Songbun, a societal classification system that is focused on controlling society, controlling the people, denying human rights, Byungjin, the simultaneous pursuit of the economy and nuclear weapons. And of course, it is the denial of human rights that sustains the Kim family regime in power. So the question for all of us, what values do we want to subscribe to? And I would say that on the Korean Peninsula, the 50 million, really 85 million Koreans that live on the Korean Peninsula, they really have to decide what values do they want to subscribe to. And I think that's an important question, and I think it's something that we, that together as an alliance, we need to focus on. But Koreans in the South in particular must understand that North Korea's strategy and intent is designed to subvert the South. And I would urge all my Korean friends and allies that you must defend against this threat from the North because it is really, really critical. And I think that North Korea has not given up its strategy to unify the peninsula under its domination. The answer to that question, has it given up that strategy? There's only three answers to that. Yes, they have. No, they haven't. Or I don't know. And as a former military planner, a prudent planner, I have to go with I don't know. And if I don't know, I'm going to assume the worst. And my belief is they have not given up that strategy. Therefore, we must defend against it. And I'll stop there.
Dave, thank you very much.